Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today in this video we are going to discuss about an article review. The article titled as Motzki on Muslim Hadith Literature and Analytical Study. This article was written by Aisha Rafiq and Nazia Zaman, and it was published in the Journal of Positive School Psychology. In this article, they discussed about the Western scholarship on Muslim Hadith literature and their views, their critiques, and the major scholars with their views and critiques, and major debates of 20th and 19th and 20th century, and how their debate solution. So these major themes are discussed in this video or in this article. So firstly, they started discussing about the debates, the major debates among the scholars of 19th and 20th century, and their views, their critiques on Muslim Hadith literature. So, for example, the goals there. They discussed about goals there. He said that all hadith are fabricated. All hadith or prophetic hadith are fabricated because they were made due to theological, political, and social circumstance. So they made from their own side for their ruling and etc. So and again the Joseph Sack and his major theory, back projection theory, in which he said that all the hadith they were made after Prophet's death, and it was very later period, in very later period. So that is why all the hadiths were fabricated. So Harald Motzki, he discussed, and his views on the Muslim Hadith literature are very familiar and very famous, because he used the theory Isnad Kam Matan. And Isnad Kam Matan, in this theory, Motzki, he studied all the side of hadith, from Isnad side, from Matan side, and lastly he made some assumptions of hadith from his one side, and he gave the three major assumptions. The first one is the variance of hadith, at least the partially result of the process of transmission, and secondly, the isnad of this variant hadith reflects as at least the partially actual course of transmission. And third one is, if the all these variants come from a common source, and both are similar and seemingly independent, then these sources are authentic moments of transmission. So these three was his major findings from Isnad Kam Matan theory. And again, he rejected all the views and critiques of Golzer and Joseph Sack by using some his thought, and by taking source from the Musnaf of Abdul Razak, for example, and Imam al-Zuhri. So he rejected all the critics, and he said that neither all the hadiths are fabricated, nor all the hadiths are were reliable. So he said that some hadiths are reliable due through the if the isnad is correct. So this was major views on hadith literature. And again, he rejected the common link theory of Joseph Sack. And what is common link theory? The common link theory is two isnad, they are mixing in one side. For example, al-Zuhri, and he two isnad is coming from two sides, and that isnad is was mixed in one person. For example, Imam Zuhri. So this hadith is a common link theory. Imam Zuhri will come in common link theory. So in all the hadiths. So Joseph Stark said that the common link theory, the man who will come in common link theory, this hadith was fabricated. But the Motzki critic criticized on the Joseph Stark views, saying that the common link theory hadith, it may be very authentic, because that person will come in between two isnad, and this hadith may be the hadith will sometimes may this hadith come in authentic hadith. There is no doubt there. So by these theories and by this arguing that the Motzki said all hadith are not fabricated, some hadiths are reliable. So that this was the Motzki's very famous views on Muslim Hadith literature. And again, the article, the author, they are discussing about the Western scholarship of 19th century, and they discussed that in 19th century there were many skeptical views on Muslim Hadith literature. Many scholars, they have criticized hadith. As I have mentioned some major names, Goldziher, Joseph Stark, and so there are many major names of our major scholars of Western scholarship in Muslim Hadith literature. So finally, the article discussed about the 20th century, the Hadith literature studies of 20th century. And he said that in 20th century, the major scholars like Jonathan Jesbron, and he have taken the views of Motzki, and Hadith literature become to grow. And this way, the Hadith, they understand the actual Hadith literature. So this way, the Muslim Hadith literature become very authenticity. For many books like Jonathan Jesbron, he wrote a lot of books in this field. So by referring his book, we can understand what was the major debates and what was the major critiques and views on Muslim Hadith literature. So that's all. So in this video, I have discussed about the major views of Harald Motzki, which are very important to know about the Hadith literature. Thank you all.